Hello people, noob aqui de volta com vocês para mais um vídeo do canal, continuando aqui com o nosso detetive favorito, o único que a gente tem vídeo no canal até hoje, Hercule Poirot. Aqui estamos investigando, vamos falar com suspeitos, finalmente chegamos ao terceiro andar para saber quem matou o nosso queridíssimo, que ninguém gosta, Major Félix, ok? Então vamos dar continuidade aqui, mas antes disso vocês já sabem a rotina. Convido vocês a se inscrever no canal, deixem um gostei no vídeo para saber que vocês estão realmente gostando desses videozinhos. Comente alguma coisa que está batendo no fundo do seu coraçãozinho. E sem mais delongas, é isso aí mesmo. Vamos continuar, estamos no meio do corredor. E simbora, a gente pode ir pra cá, que é o depósito, e a gente tem que checar um quarto. Vamos no quarto primeiro, que eu acho que o depósito vai ter bastante coisa. Observar as estrelas, sem dúvida, é um dos prazeres simples da vida. Ok. Coleção de livros. Poderia passar horas lendo sobre as aventuras dos personagens destes livros. Ok, mais quadros. Pintura de uma montanha magnífica. O pico rodeado de nuvens. A atenção aos detalhes é incrível. A pintura de uma floresta idílica. Este artista capturou com perfeição a atmosfera da cena. Então tá legal. Esse quarto aqui a gente não pode entrar, que é o da Angeline. A pintura de um barco à vela cruzando um vasto oceano. O artista é claramente talentoso. Madame Van der Bosch tem uma coleção de arte eclética com várias peças espetaculares. E aqui está o quarto de Cassandra. Vamos lá. Nossa, a gente nem bate, a gente só vai entrando. Hello, madame.
Detective Poirot, what do you think you are doing in here?
I have something I wish to discuss with you.
Well, I hope it is important enough to justify barging into one's bedroom.
A gente podia ter batido, eu concordo com ela nesse ponto, hein?
I assure you it is.
Good, because this has gone on far too long. We are snowed in this house while a murderer runs amok.
I can understand your frustrations, but it is not as simple as...
You were once an incompetent officer, and now it seems you are just as incompetent as a detective.
Hey!
If I was not being lied to and misled at every turn, perhaps the murderer would already be in custody.
I hope you are not suggesting I had something to do with Felix's murder.
I am suggesting that if I had the support that everyone claims they are offering, we would be in a very different situation.
If you have something you want to ask, I suggest you ask me now.
Não sabia que o Major era tão próximo de sua filha. A gente vai perguntar se o Major é o pai da menina.
We met before Angeline was born, so he was often at the house when she was growing up.
And where was it you two met?
I was attending an event. Felix was also in attendance as a serving officer. A conversation was struck.
So, it was not through the Viscount that you two met?
I did not require my husband to start conversations on my behalf.
It was you that instigated it then?
My, detective. That active imagination of yours has taken you on quite some journey.
Madame está tentando desviar do assunto, pois obviamente não se sente confortável em falar sobre isso. Mas o finado Visconde e o Major eram amigos, não?
Edwin spent much of his time away on business before Angeline was born. Felix was a welcome distraction from the loneliness of the house.
You were alone in the house?
The staff continued their duties, of course, but trying to get any sort of sophisticated or cultured conversation from them was like drawing blood from a stone.
And when Angeline was born?
Edwin remained at home. It was his duty as a father.
And the Major?
He had his own business and life to tend to, but we remained in touch via letter. Around the time of Edwin's passing, Felix had relocated to the area.
Conveniente. Madame é sempre tão reticente ao dar respostas curtas, mas não ao falar sobre o retorno do Major coincidir com o falecimento do Visconde. Não posso crer que seja uma mera coincidência. Isso aí. Gostaria de perguntar sobre a carta que encontrei no escritório do Major.
I'm sure he has hundreds of letters in there. Most of them could and should have been thrown away a long time ago. You are going to have to be more specific.
Ah, eu posso ser específico.
I refer to the letter addressed to you, the one of a romantic nature.
Romantic nature? Please, Detective. Felix did not have a romantic bone in his body.
He made his intentions quite clear in the letter. I must admit I myself was surprised.
You really do have quite the active imagination, Detective. If that is how you wish to interpret it, so be it. But I can assure you, the Major did not think of me that way, and certainly did not include it in a letter.
I think that is all for now. Merci, madame.
Mano, será que a carta não era pra ela? Era pra uma das criadas? Tô curiosa, não tem nada aqui. Tá, tudo bem, eu posso ver. Busto. A coleção de obras de arte de Madame Van der Bosch vai além das pinturas. Tá, tudo bem, não vamos ficar enrolando muito aqui. Vamos lá. Eu consigo ver as evidências? Eu não lembro, eu acho que não. Mas eu tenho quase certeza... eu não lembro se a carta fala o nome dela ou não. Tá, vamos pro depósito. Alguns brinquedos guardados. Uma pena vê-los assim em um depósito em vez nas mãos de uma criança. Como estão bem guardados em um depósito, foram mantidos em excelente estado. Só podem ser de Mademoiselle Angeline. Alguma coisa aqui não. Livros não. O tempo e a habilidade que são necessários para a construção de uma peça incrível como esta é uma verdadeira forma de arte, tá? Nada aqui? Livro. Apenas um livro aqui. Está claro que ele foi lido inúmeras vezes e a julgar pela condição da lombada e das páginas. Eu não sou exatamente o público-alvo deste livro, mas sei que é muito popular entre os jovens. Para a verdadeira mocinha da casa, feliz aniversário, ser testemunha do seu crescimento e vê-la se tornar uma jovem dama é um privilégio indescritível. Com todo o meu amor, Félix. Não imaginaria encontrar uma dedicatória tão sentimental assim de Monsieur Hanging. E para Mademoiselle Angeline, seria essa mensagem apropriada para alguém que é apenas amigo da família? Eu falei! Parece impossível conseguir uma resposta direta de qualquer um sobre o Major. Sei que a amizade entre ele e Madame Van der Bosch era antiga, mas devo descobrir se há algo mais além disso. Tá, era isso que eu queria ver. Empréstimos, envelopes, carta lacrada. Essa aqui, eu consigo ler a carta? Minha querida Cassandra. Não, ele fala o nome dela. Tá. Ele realmente fala o nome dela. Tá, vamos lá então. Cassandra afirma que o Major não a amava. Cassandra e o Major se conheciam desde antes do nascimento de Angeline.
Another success. I never doubted myself.
Parece que o Major teve uma vida confortável na casa dos Van der Bosch por muitos anos. Major depende da hospitalidade de Cassandra. Conversa com Angeline. E eu acho que tem aqui a antiguidade, bem conservado. Presente apropriado, presente do Major.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
Está claro que o Major se importava com Cassandra e o que não surpreende ninguém. O Major se importava com Cassandra, fale com Cassandra. Tá, tudo bem. Vamos lá então.
Is this really necessary?
Se eu estiver certa e o Major não tivesse sentimentos românticos pela Madame, por que ele manteria uma foto sua e de Mademoiselle Angeline escondida?
He may have stayed in my home, but Felix was a grown man, Detective. What he kept, hidden or otherwise, has nothing to do with me.
But it does not surprise you that he had such a photograph?
We have been friends and he has been there for Angeline for many years, but you find it strange that he keeps a reminder of us? Perhaps that says more about you, Detective.
What I do find strange is that if he did hold a flame for you, why he would never express it.
If he did, it was not reciprocated. I have not even considered another since my husband's passing. Not that it is any of your business.
I think that is all for now. Merci, madame.
Tá. Tá, Madame não quer falar nada. Eu preciso falar com ela. Mas onde é que eu acho a Angeline? Posso descer agora? Ah. Talvez seja a hora de falar com Mademoiselle Angeline novamente. É possível que ela tenha as peças que faltam para completar este quebra-cabeça. Ah, ela tá aqui embaixo. Que conveniente.
Detective Poirot, are you any closer to uncovering the truth of Felix's involvement with the letters?
I am, mademoiselle. I can confirm that he was not the author of the blackmail letters.
So the author is still out there.
Oui, but it will not be long before they are apprehended, and the only letters they shall be penning will be from behind iron bars.
Your confidence is rather assuring. Thank you, Detective.
Seu comentário sobre os convidados ontem à noite não sai da minha cabeça.
I'm sorry, Detective. I did not intend to leave your mind so full of thoughts.
No apology is required. It actually made me question my whole chain of thinking. What if there had been a collusion between them, and the Major's murder was planned, organized, and orchestrated to make the investigation seem almost impossible?
Oh my, Detective, that is quite a theory.
Every guest has a motive. You confirmed that with the mention of Mademoiselle Conrad and the Major's fight. Supplying one another with a rock-solid alibi would surely throw off any detective.
But not you.
Correct, mademoiselle. It would take much more to stamp Detective Poirot.
Enquanto eu realizava as buscas no depósito, encontrei um livro que acredito ter sido um presente do Major para você.
I haven't seen that book in so long. Yes, it was a gift for my 10th birthday. I have read it from cover to cover countless times. He left such a lovely inscription too.
It sounds as though there is a side to the Major I did not get to see. Was it common for him to bring you gifts?
Not common, but if he had been away for some time, he would bring me a small memento from his travels. He hasn't done that in some time, though.
Os brinquedos que encontrei junto com o livro também foram presentes do Major?
They were. I'm afraid they may have gathered some dust being in the storage room for so long. I kept them in hope of giving them to my child when the time comes.
It sounds as though he had always cared about you.
His presence at the house was comforting for us both after Father died, even if sometimes he was a little too overprotective.
Você falou na noite passada sobre como o Major ajudava sua mamã.
That's right. Ever since I can remember, Felix has been around.
It seems as though she has a number of support networks. The Major, her friendship with the Countess, not forgetting Monsieur da Silva.
Maman has many friends. I know how she may seem to most, but once you break the hard shell...
There is a further shell waiting to be broken.
Oh, very good, Detective.
Forgive me, mademoiselle.
It's quite all right. You are not the only one that feels a razor tongue. She's grateful you are here, especially now, whether she shows it or not.
Ainda não tive a felicidade de conhecer este lado de Madame Van der Bosch. Também não tenho grandes esperanças de ficarmos amiguinhos. Ao conversar com a Comtesse ontem, ela não tinha nada de bom a dizer sobre o Major.
They have often come to blows when it concerns Maman. They are both trying to protect her, but they themselves cannot seem to get along.
She spoke of his desire to join the, how do you describe it? Social elite.
This isn't the first time she has vocalized that concern. She thinks the Major was just using our family name to make his way to the top.
And you do not agree?
I will not deny he has shown interest in Maman's social circles, but they have been friends since even before I was born. Surely all those years of friendship was not just to raise his social standing.
Mademoiselle Angeline claramente não acredita no que acontece e tinha a dizer sobre o Major. Talvez seja apenas ciúmes por trás dessa teoria escandalosa. Se Mademoiselle me permitir, posso perguntar se o Major contribuía com a casa?
How do you mean, Detective?
I imagine a house of this size is rather costly, keeping it in the immaculate condition it is in.
Maman looks after the financial side of the house, but I think she has had to ask him more than once for a contribution of sorts. It is not for me to get involved.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
Tenho todos os fatos de que preciso para forçar Madame Van der Bosch a revelar o segredo dela. Oh yes! Vamos perguntar. Deixa eu ver se tem aqui alguma... Tá, vamos lá. Temos 2 conexões, espera aí. A presença no aniversário anterior, o Major não ajudava com as contas da casa... Ah, não, né?
What a revelation!
Ou sim? Por mais que ela negue, Cassandra até certo ponto compartilhava dos sentimentos do Major. Cassandra se importava com o Major, tá.
Things are beginning to become clearer.
Com a morte do Visconde, o Major assumiu a figura do pai para ela. O Major era uma figura paterna para Angeline. Ok, tinha coisa assim. Vamos lá.
Is this really necessary?
Sim. Beleza. Você vem acolhendo o Major há anos, embora ele jamais tenha contribuído com a casa. Certamente, Madame não espera que eu acredite na justificativa de ser apenas uma amizade platônica.
Who I allow in my house is none of your business. I do not have to explain anything to you.
I did not think you were one for charity.
I would not expect you to think much of anything. There is no need to talk on it any further, but I'm sure you will remember that, financially speaking, we have had our issues.
Tenho todas as evidências de que preciso para confrontar Madame Van der Bosch, mas preciso pensar bem em como conduzirei o interrogatório. Se eu insistir demais, ela assumirá uma postura defensiva, mas talvez seja a única forma, pois ela não deixará escapar nenhuma informação assim tão facilmente. Insinuativo. E mesmo assim você permitiu que o Major morasse aqui, sem contribuir com nada. Ou contundente. Por que tanto empenho em proteger o nome de Monsieur Hagen?
He was a man that required no protection, Detective. Especially from me.
That is the impression I had of him, which is why your defensive stance warrants questioning.
Your insistent questioning on such trivial matters are getting on my last nerve. There is a murderer and a blackmailer to be found. That is your job here.
As declarações de amor dele então não tiveram nenhum significado para você? A jogar pelas palavras usadas pelo Major nas cartas, não foi apenas esta que ele enviou declarando seu amor, n'est-ce pas? Acho que aqui.
How many times do I have to tell you? There was no romantic feelings between us. I have grown weary of this conversation, Poirot. There is nothing more to say.
Algo sobre as relações de vocês que claramente Madame se recusa a revelar. Nas cartas de amor, estadia na casa. Você continuou relutante em responder minhas perguntas e sua postura defensiva sugere que o amor é até certo ponto correspondido. Silêncio.
Madame, you continue to withhold the truth.
And you continue to get on my last nerve. I am not obliged to tell you every detail of my private life.
But when it impedes my investigation...
If only you were this focused on finding the blackmailer and...
Madame.
Very well. I did not lie about how we met. I was attending an event, raising money for... Oh, I cannot recall now. It had been some time since I had returned home, and was rather missing English soil. I was aware of Felix's invitation, or at least that there was to be several British officers attending the party, and that is where our friendship began. He was a warm reminder of home, and I enjoyed conversing with him. We shared walks in the park and read together. As I said, he was a welcome distraction from the days spent alone. I shall go no further with the details, but I will say, I had no intention on being unfaithful to my husband. It was never our plan to go that far. Once I found out I was pregnant, I knew it had to stop.
Ah, eu sabia!
The Viscount never questioned Mademoiselle's birth?
In his mind, he had no reason to, and he shouldn't have had to. It was my mistake to bear. If he knew the truth, our lives would have been ruined. I told Felix that he was to stay away, but he had no intention to. He became an uncle figure to Angeline, and they grew closer after Edwin's death. I could not tell her the truth. Too much time had passed. The secret remained only between him and I. Until now.
And what were the Major's thoughts on revealing the truth?
He wanted to tell her everything. He wanted her to know exactly who he was. But I told him no. It would not have been the poignant reconciliation that he expected. She would not understand.
Eu sabia, tudo bem que o Poirot levou, tipo, 20 minutos pra chegar nessa conclusão, mas eu sabia. Fale-me sobre as cartas.
I tried to retrieve them from the safe after everyone had retired last night. But when I opened the safe, they were nowhere to be found. I assumed he must have hidden them somewhere else.
When I entered the study this morning, they were as visible as a red notice on a police station wall.
I would appreciate if you did not compare them to the face of a wanted felon.
Pardon, madame.
But that does mean someone else in the house has seen them. I don't understand. Why would they return them?
Alguém queria que achassem elas.
A mystery that is still yet to be solved.
Alguém foi mais rápido que a madame ao acessar o cofre. Parece que também temos um ladrão dentro desta casa para adicionar à lista de criminosos. Mas um ladrão que devolve o que roubou. Seria esse o segredo que estava sendo usado como chantagem?
It must be. But I have told no one.
And the Major?
Felix promised me he wouldn't tell a soul, and I believed him. Not even if he wanted to.
Se o Major deixou este fato escapar em algum momento em todos esses anos, talvez depois de beber alguns drinks, certamente alguém se aproveitaria desta oportunidade para tirar vantagem.
You did not think anyone knew, and that is why you disregarded the letter.
If you bow to these criminals, they will only try to claw more from you.
I think that is all for now. Merci, madame.
A possível conexão entre o Major e as chantagens foi desvendada. O Major estava sendo chantageado, as cartas não foram escritas por ele. O que ainda não sei é por que o Major estava sendo chantageado. 2 casos de extorsão sob o mesmo teto. Preciso verificar se há relação entre os dois. O segredo do Major não é evidente lendo a carta. Claro que é! Descobri isso! Agora, além do chantagista, tem que encontrar um assassino e a arma do crime. Se eu seguir o processo correto, tudo se resolverá o mais rápido possível. Já é hora de me retirar. Este cômodo já revelou informações suficientes sobre a vida de Madame e do Major. Suspeitava que Madame Van der Bosch e o Major tivessem um relacionamento romântico, mas não esperava a revelação da conexão dele com Mademoiselle Angeline. Agora sou um dos poucos que guarda o segredo de Madame. Eu também. Objetivo concluído. Maravilha. Ok, então. Gente, Poirot é lerdo às vezes, né?
Detective Poirot, how is your investigation coming?
Monsieur Sterling, I must admit, I have learned much more than I was expecting to.
You'll be wrapping the case up soon, then?
One has never finished learning, monsieur, and in this case, I shall need to continue if I am to find the Major's killer.
It might help to vocalize your thinking. I'm all ears.
Tá muito interessado pro meu gosto, hein? A sugestão de Monsieur Sterling é interessante. Se eu contar a alguém o que descobri na minha investigação, mas deixar alguns detalhes de fora, os culpados podem achar que estou próximo da verdade e acabar se revelando.
Monsieur, Would you gather the guests and staff in the salon?
Right away, Detective. Can I ask for what reason?
I shall reveal all once everyone is together.
Vamos falar com todo mundo. Capítulo 6. A busca. Ah, ele toca piano.
Detective, what is the meaning of all this?
Madame, I ask that you all lend me your ears for only a few moments. What I have to say is of great significance to everyone. You are all invited here to celebrate the engagement of Mademoiselle Angeline van den Bosch and Monsieur Gédéon Demire, the coming together of two prevalent families. But the celebrations were short-lived, as Major Felix Hagen was found dead in his study by a young servant of the house. It then became my responsibility and obligation as a detective to uncover the truth behind his demise. My initial examination of his study exposed a number of things I did not expect to find. Things I have no desire to divulge at this time, but what I can say is this. It was no simple murder. A letter demanding ransom for a continued silence confirmed this. I am sure some, if not all of you, have heard whispers of a series of blackmails that have plagued the social elite in recent weeks. After hearing of the letters in the Major's study, you may ask if it was him behind the letters. You may further ask if he was preparing his next threat to another unsuspecting victim. It is a question that crossed even my mind. That was until I sought the truth. That in fact it was the Major that had fallen victim to our blackmailer Mystérieux. Last night I spoke with you all, confirmed your whereabouts in the house over the course of the evening, and while I would have expected such questioning to reveal a potential suspect, what I learned was that it could not have been one of you.
What do you mean, not one of us? The man was stabbed. He hardly did that to himself. There is still a killer in the house.
Pardon, monsieur, if you would allow me to finish. It could not have been only one of you. Rather a partnership, in cahoots, if you will. Conversations today have revealed facts that I was not expecting to discover. And although they may have muddied and complicated my investigation, what I must do to bring the guilty parties to justice has become clearer. Those of you that spun stories in an attempt to confuse and derail my investigation have made a grave mistake in underestimating my intelligence. Other detectives may fall for such deception, but I can assure you, Detective Poirot is no such fool. My investigation is far from over, and swift justice shall be dealt to those that have committed such appalling acts and have continued to mislead and lie to protect themselves. Now, I must continue mon enquête, and I shall leave you to consider that you may be beside a cold-hearted killer. Bonsoir. Monsieur Sterling, un moment.
Quite the speech, Detective.
Deixa eu dropar a bomba aqui em vocês e sair rapidão.
Merci, but it was not made to entertain, more to warn the guilty parties that I am hot on their heels, no matter how clever they believe themselves to be.
Well, if there is anything I can do.
Gostaria de fazer uma busca nos quartos dos hóspedes.
Is that really necessary?
Yep.
The murderer remains at large, and there is still no sign of the weapon. I would say that makes them essential.
Of course. I still just cannot imagine any of them being guilty of his murder.
It may be hard to imagine, but it is the truth.
Ao retornar ao escritório na noite passada, percebeu algo diferente da nossa visita anterior.
Nothing. But I was so preoccupied with the Major. Sorry, Detective. Should I have?
Perhaps it was just my mind playing games again.
Maybe one of the guests got lost and wandered in.
Uai. Se um convidado tivesse se perdido e entrado no quarto do Major, estou certo de que não teria cruzado o cômodo até o escritório, a menos que não estivesse se perdido coisa nenhuma. Quem tem acesso ao escritório do Major?
Master Hagen had a key, obviously, and Lady Vandenbosch.
Monsieur Demir me garantiu que Archibald também tinha uma cópia da chave. Ninguém esqueceria algo assim tão facilmente. Sobre o acesso ao cofre, você já o abriu antes?
When requested, aye. If something is required from there when Master Hagen is not around.
Forgive me. If he is not around, how is it you access this safe?
It's not what you think, Detective.
What I think is that you have been trusted with a copy of the key, and you have lied to me about it.
I only lied because of the trouble I can get into with Lady Vandenbosch.
At this moment, monsieur, you should be more worried about the trouble you shall find yourself in with the law.
Ok.
I know how it will sound, but I lost my key. I must have set it down somewhere, and it has been tidied away. Master Hagen asked so rarely for me to go in the safe, I didn't think it would be missed.
Ah, mas fez falta, meu querido. A história de Monsieur Sterling sobre a chave me parece coincidência demais. O cofre do Major aberto, documentos revirados e cartas revelando o segredo de Madame Vandenbosch à vista para qualquer um ver. Um crime sem motivo aparente. Também precisamos conversar sobre o que acontece bisbilhotando na cena do crime.
I should have said this morning. I'm sorry.
Monsieur, I am not quite sure you understand the severity of what has happened.
É, querido, você já pediu desculpa 2 vezes por coisa que você não deveria ter feito, né, queridão?
I am well aware, Detective. I just thought she would be able to help.
Would you allow a man with a smoking gun to remove his bullet from a victim's chest?
I suppose not.
Entendo que Monsieur Sterling só estava tentando ajudar, mas com certeza ele deve perceber o que esta intromissão pode causar à integridade da investigação.
I would like to begin my searches now. Since it is closest, I will start with the west wing.
I may not be back when you return. Here is the key to the other rooms. Please return it when you're done.
Merci. I shall guard it with my life.
Vão roubar a chave de mim. Tá. Primeiro vamos fazer uma visitinha a Comtesse. Novo mapa mental desbloqueado. Antes de acusar alguém de cometer qualquer crime, preciso me certificar de que estavam trabalhando sozinhos ou em conluio. Esta é a oportunidade perfeita para encontrar provas que algum complô e procurar a arma do crime. Maravilha! Maravilha, galerinha! Nós descobrimos verdades assustadoras. Tá, nem tanto, a gente sabia disso desde o último episódio, mas tudo bem, tudo bem. Então, eu vou ficando por aqui, galerinha. A gente se vê no próximo vídeo. Por favor, deixa um gostei aqui pra saber que vocês estão gostando desse conteúdo. Comenta algo que está no fundo de seu coraçãozinho. E a gente se vê no próximo vídeo, galerinha. É isso aí, valeu, falou!